This is Nisreen's Art World. In this podcast, I will share my thoughts about different art forms such as films, books, paintings, performing art, etc. Hello, this is Nisreen. Welcome to the 9th episode of my podcast. It's lovely to speak to you again. Today, I'd love to share my thoughts about the process of entering art universities in Japan. A little bit about my background. In 2011, I finished a bachelor's degree in graphic design. I graduated from an art university called Tokyo Zokei University, one of the 5 best known art universities in Tokyo. I know it's a long time ago, but I think currently living in the US is giving me more opportunity to reflect on my educational background because A, people ask me about it more, and B, there's a different culture around art here in the US. The experience I gained during my BA was truly precious, and I am nothing but grateful. However, the entrance process was far from easy. Some memories around it still make me emotional even today. I thought it would be an interesting idea to share 3 reasons why it was so hard for me and suggest how it could have been made better. Please keep in mind that my opinions are based on my personal experience, so the situation may be different today. Reason 1: costs pile up. This was a challenge for my parents rather than myself. The total cost for the full 4-year program was approximately 8 million yen, which is about $60,000. Compared to art universities in the US, such as the School of Visual Arts in New York, which costs about $94,000 for a full 2-year course, this may not be the worst. But inside of Japan, where the average cost for a private 4-year undergraduate course is 4 million yen or $30,000, the art university is disproportionately expensive. On top of this, in order to prepare for the entrance exams, students have to go to a dedicated tutoring school after school every evening. Those tutoring schools also cost from about $1,300 to $3,000 per year. I remember when I was preparing for the entrance exam, my parents were literally working day and night to keep up with the relentless payments. Thanks to them, I was in the privileged position where I was able to fully concentrate on my art and regular school studies. As my high school prohibited students from having a part-time job, if my household had had financial challenges, I wouldn't have even thought about going to art university. The university's website indicates the options for scholarships, but they only cover about 10% of the yearly cost. Though the only state art university in whole Tokyo, Tokyo Art University, is less expensive, the acceptance rate is only about 30%. Most students fail the entrance exam and spend years trying to get in, which ends up costing extra tutoring fees. On the whole, I wish there was more systematic support for art students and their families. Reason 2: the course options are inflexible. The start of my journey to art university dates back to my childhood. I was a girl who was perfectly happy as long as I had a small piece of paper and a pencil. My unlimited love for visual art and drawing led me to believe I should pursue a degree in art. However, when I finally became a teenager and looked at the undergraduate programs, I felt lost. Tokyo Zokei University had one fine art course, but required an in-person test on oil painting in addition to pencil sketching and an academic test. Though I enjoyed oil painting at art school when I was a child, I had eventually stopped as I didn't have the proper space to really work on it. To those of you who don't know, oil painting requires an area separate from your living space, as its smell is intense and paints get everywhere. In addition, oil paintings are expensive. Traditional Japanese paints are even worse. I wished I could focus on acrylics or watercolor, which are more affordable and require less space. In Tama Art University, meanwhile, also, you need to specifically select one medium to study from three options in fine art: oil painting, lithography, and traditional Japanese painting. As looking up now, it seems that usage of acrylics is permitted during the entrance exam of the oil painting course. But looking at the requirements at the time, I felt blocked by the specific subject categorization. Furthermore, I also felt the pressure to have a plan for the future in the back of my head. Looking at my hard-working parents, I was painfully aware that I needed to become independent from them after university graduation, even though I had a vague idea that making a living from art is not easy. As a result, I ended up choosing graphic design as a subject, which seemed more functional and affordable. I don't regret this decision, as the course fortunately had room for fine art as well. I also met wonderful teachers in the university. However, it is also true that I could have chosen the course differently if the subject options had been less rigid. I also wish that the entrance process had centered around a diverse portfolio or art collection like many American art universities, instead of a test on a specific technique. Finally, reason 3: humiliation in the classroom. In the class dedicated to preparation for the exams, when we finished painting or drawing, we would put the works on the two floating shelves parallel with each other for being evaluated. The tutors then relocated the pieces according to the technique levels of each work they judged. The left top was the best, the right bottom was the worst. It seems that this is a tradition that exists in all art tutoring schools in Japan, and it wasn't exclusive to one school. At the time, I didn't feel like this evaluation process discouraged me, as I was focused on improving myself. What was much more disheartening was some of the comments tutors made during the evaluation. I still remember when tutors laughed at one of my classmates. They pointed out his paints were improper, saying they couldn't believe he dared to say he wanted to be a designer while being so ignorant about paints. Well, of course, not all the tutors were like that, but there was definitely a notion that teasing and demeaning students is acceptable. It was a humiliation that stung, not constructive criticism. Now, please let me define the word humiliation. According to the academic paper Toward the Psychology of Humiliation in Asymmetric Conflict by Clark Macaulay from Bryn Mawr College, quote, whether the humiliation arises out of personal experience or group membership, the description reviewed so far seemed to include four key elements: a perpetrator, a victim, an unjust lowering, and unequal power. In Linda's view, the feeling comes from being unjustly demeaned by a more powerful other. For Lazar, it is a result of being unfairly debased or diminished by another person. According to S.B. Miller, it involves being placed in a lowly, debased, and powerless position by someone who has, at that moment, greater power than oneself. Unquote. It sounds like a classroom that has a teacher or instructor in an absolute position of power over disparate students stressing out about the competitive exam. This is a perfect flowerbed for humiliation. In reality, it was not rare to witness the use of humiliation in schools in general back then. I believe I was extra disappointed when this happened in the art setting though, because art has always been my safe space. This sense of losing the safe space deeply affected me afterwards. It was also the art that saved me from the sense of helplessness, though. I will save that topic for another time. So, there you go. Overall, the application process for the art university was emotionally and physically strenuous for me. However, it was worthwhile as I learned a lot from the experience. I only mentioned Japanese and American art education systems as they're familiar to me, but I am also curious about the art education systems in other countries. I'd be delighted if you write a review of this podcast on Apple Podcasts or rating on Spotify. It would be lovely if you share the episode on social media as well. And of course, you're more than welcome to let me know your thoughts about this topic from the contact form in the description. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye for now.